All right, folks, gather round. Let's talk about Canada, eh? Land of maple syrup, hockey, and some seriously complicated issues with Indigenous communities. See, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, he loves a good photo op in a beaded vest. He talks a big game about reconciliation. And to be fair, he's thrown a whole heap of money at the problem. We're talking billions. But here's the kicker. Has all that cash actually made life better for Indigenous folks on reserves? That, my friends, is the million-dollar question, or should I say the billion-dollar question. Now, I'm no economist, but even I can tell you that throwing money at a problem doesn't magically solve it. You need a plan, you need accountability, and you need to make sure that the money is actually reaching the people who need it most. So, let's dive into this, shall we? Back in 2015, the Canadian government was spending around $11 billion a year on Indigenous issues. Fast forward to now, and that number has nearly tripled to a whopping $32 billion earmarked for 2025. That's a lot of loonies, folks. Now on the surface, that seems like a good thing, right? More money should mean better schools, better healthcare, better infrastructure. But hold your horses, because the reality on the ground tells a different story. A recent report by the Fraser Institute, a think tank up north, found that despite this massive influx of cash, the living conditions for many Indigenous people on reserves haven't significantly improved. In fact, in some cases, they've actually gotten worse. We're talking about overcrowded housing, high unemployment, and shockingly high rates of poverty and addiction. So, where's all that money going? That's the question we need to be asking. Now, to be fair, it's not all doom and gloom. There have been some bright spots. The Canada Child Benefit, for example, has been a lifeline for many Indigenous families, lifting kids out of poverty. That's a good thing. We like good things. But then you have things like the ongoing water crisis on reserves. Years after Trudeau promised to end long-term drinking water advisories, there are still communities without access to clean, safe drinking water. That's not a good thing. In fact, it's a bloody travesty. It's 2024 for crying out loud. We put a man on the moon, but we can't get clean water to Indigenous communities? Come on, Canada, you're better than this. Section 4, Lawsuits and Legacy, a Costly Reckoning. And then there's the issue of historical injustices. Canada's treatment of Indigenous people has been, let's just say, less than stellar. Residential schools, forced assimilation, land dispossession. It's a long and shameful history. And now, the government is facing a reckoning in the form of class action lawsuits and settlements that are costing billions. Don't get me wrong, these settlements are long overdue and absolutely necessary, but they also highlight the massive cost of past wrongs and the urgent need for real systemic change. Section 5, Time to Trade Promises for Progress. So, what's the takeaway here? Well, it's clear that simply throwing money at the problem isn't the answer. What's needed is a fundamental shift in approach. Policymakers need to stop with the empty promises and start focusing on spending policies that produce tangible results. That means investing in things like education, healthcare, and economic development. It means listening to Indigenous communities and empowering them to take control of their own destinies. And it means addressing the systemic racism and discrimination that continues to plague Indigenous people in Canada. It's time for Canada to put its money where its mouth is and start delivering on its promises of reconciliation. The future of Indigenous communities depends on it.